Hi everyone. I actually got some pretty interesting data that I'm allowed to share, so I thought I'd make a video on it. And it's from the beginning of the month, the CycleCross World Championships of the women, and it's data from the German rider Elisabeth Brandau. And she actually just bought a couple Moxies and went right for it. Said, I think it's first training or her first use of the devices on her own were at the World Championships. So it's quite interesting. And she had the race, she collected the data with her Garmin, and then sent me the data. She actually had a right and left device, but there's a device ID problem, so we're going to have the data from the one leg. But we're going to look at. But it's pretty fun. So I got the data in from right now. I'm gonna put them up right now. And I looked at the data and got some feedback from her, and then looked at her result. She got 21st. And if people know her, she's a very strong rider. It's definitely not her best result. She also said, she had heavy legs. She wasn't feeling that great. And now we're looking at the data and speculate a bit here, but what we see is that generally her SMO2 values are pretty high. Okay, so they kind of flatline. They're like 40% steady throughout the entire race. So it just kind of drops down and it flatlines at approximately 40%. There's not much going on. And if you know a race, cyclocross race, there's different intensities and they go up and down. There's room for having some more variability in your SMO2 data than what we see here. And if you look at her performance data, it's somewhat similar. So you get kind of at the higher part and it kind of flattens out, and you're going to have some up and down spikes and stuff, of course. You kind of get the same thing. And generally, I agree. This data looks like for an elite rider like Elisabeth that her legs are tired. I mean, there's something going on. Again, I have no other data from her, so this is all very speculative based on lots of data from elite riders that I have. And you would expect to see in this type of race where she says you're pushing pretty hard, and this isn't a training where you're just steady state. You're trying to win, and it's just you're not being able to push that SMO2 value any further down at any point during the race. And it looks to me that the capacity just wasn't there, and this is also doubled down by her input. Her legs were heavy, her legs weren't there. But where this gets interesting to me, or what I see when I look at this, because then I have other data in my head, is that I see like a 3-minute all-out test. Now this would be a 45-minute all-out test, but it's similar. So we'll put some other data up here. This is an example of a 3-minute all-out test. And what you see is that you start your 3-minute all-out test and you get this spike where performance goes up, which is the red line. And then performance drops and it plateaus out at the bottom, this critical power curve that you often see, and this flattening out is critical power. After you've depleted W prime, after you've depleted all of your energy reserves, you're left with just threshold performance or critical power performance, whatever you want to call it. That's what you can maintain. And what does SMO2 do? Well, it does similar. SMO2 drops to use up any kind of reserves you have, and then it just kind of plateaus out throughout the rest of the 2 minutes, or whatever you want to call it, 90 seconds. This is exactly what it looks like what happened to Elisabeth a little bit. You kind of get this decreased power that flattens out. SMO2 kind of drops out as she burned up all of her reserves and was never ever be able to recover any reserves, and just flatlined out at whatever steady state performance that she was able to maintain over that period of time. So it's pretty interesting. The assumption is that if her legs weren't so tired, if she had more capacity to desaturate, her legs were more there, you'd have much more varying up and down SMO2 curve as recovery would allow in certain situations, which would then also allow for more dynamic power outputs as well. There might be some good comments on this because there's a lot of speculation here, or at least a good kind of point of discussion. It's interesting to have real data from a real event like this, especially. Well, thank you, Elisabeth, for just diving right in there with Moxie. So please comment on this and we can discuss this. I'm not quite sure. Again, a lot of speculation here, nonetheless interesting to look at. Definitely some discussion to have. maybe people have different opinions on this. So please write me, or if you have questions or comments. Thank you very much. Thank you to Elizabeth again for letting me share that data. And until next time.